Have you ever heard that early in pads, defensive linemen and receivers and one-on-ones are supposed to win almost every battle early in the pads equation? I'd never heard that. Somebody who would know what they're talking about told me that yesterday, because it was in the early stages of team.
Yeah.
And I'm on the perch. You're over there against the wall in the shade.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm restraining myself a little bit right now because, like with Caleb Banks yesterday, it took me back to Percy in 09 and Diggs in 15, where I'm like, oh, I mean, this is different. And I mean, he was crushing, just crushing yesterday.
Yes.
So got to pump the brakes just a little bit on that. Let's watch more. But had you ever heard that about defensive linemen and receivers, and did you see that yesterday?
I mean, I saw that, but the why behind that, I guess I can see it. The person that's going forward is probably going to be in a better position than the person going backward. I would imagine that's the why.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, to the extent that you can share it, what the reasoning that you were given on that was.
Well, I was bragging to this individual about Ty Ingram Dawkins. Well, this individual was chatting with somebody during this time. So then they came over and started to watch practice, and I was like, wow, Ty Ingram Dawkins, wow, Caleb Banks, wow. Then the one-on-ones were on the other field.
Yeah.
And Ty Felton was just scorching people.
Yes.
And then it was pointed out to me, well, early in pads, defensive linemen and receivers are required. They're supposed to win these one-on-ones and these teams. I just never heard that before.
No, I hadn't really heard that either. And the quick explanation, like I say, of somebody going forward, somebody going backwards, that would be
sense.
my back of the napkin math on that, or explanation on that. But I'd be curious to talk to a coach about that a little more to kind of hear more of the context behind that. That's interesting.
Okay, now,
because that certainly happened yesterday.
Secondly, Ben's most recent story, unless something posted within the last 2 hours, was paraphrasing, quarterbacks struggle to end first padded practice. Now, because of some dog and pony terrorism and then Canterbury Chapel, I didn't start getting caught up on this till like 9 o'clock last night. So I'm looking at what you're writing and tweeting, and Seifert and just the rest of the guys, my go-tos, just to catch things that I missed. And there was a common thread here. So, like, end of practice, what happened?
Well, J.J. McCarthy had a stretch with the ones where, if I think Blake Cashman batted on the first pass, it was a crossing route for Jefferson. He had 2 throws batted down and then got picked, I believe, by Byron Murphy Jr. On his last play of it. And then Kyler Murray took over, I think he was with the 2s at that point, and then I don't think completed a pass, had a couple passes broken up. I think threw one away. So
was O'Connell apoplectic?
Not really. I don't know that it's always one of these things where that's probably a good thing to keep an eye on, because we chart all of this stuff and all of it kind of gets put into this horse race sort of handicapping of this thing, and
big time.
And I'm always a little leery of that, and I get why we do it. You want to keep an eye on what's happening, but the context of what's going on in a particular day. I mean, I remember this covering baseball all the time. You'd have a pitcher get lit up in a spring training game, and it's like, well, I was throwing change-ups in counts I normally wouldn't do it because I'm working on stuff, and you're like, oh, he looked bad. It's like, this is not exactly the same
as a
game situation. So I just remember we talk to pitchers enough with that kind of thing where, I normally wouldn't throw a curveball to a lefty here, but I figured I'd at least try it, see if I can place it. Some of that stuff goes into it, and without the ability to know what a player's thinking and what the call was and what the intent of every play was, I guess I tend to have a healthy respect for how much I probably don't know, just because I don't have that information. Yeah. So, but that was the end of it yesterday, and obviously people who are watching in pads for the first time are going, oh, okay. But that's where we were at the end of practice yesterday.
You were there, Justin Jefferson, talking about, regardless of who is throwing him the ball, it doesn't really matter to him, right? He's got his own thing to work on. I talked with Blake Brandel over the weekend, and similarly, regardless of any of the 4 that he's snapping the ball to, he mentioned, I'm kind of doing the same thing, and I'm working on my own thing. So with what you've seen, has this balancing act of getting these QBs these opportunities, Has that hindered any other aspect of what they're trying to accomplish here in camp, or simply just still waiting for that answer, everything else running smoothly?
I mean, I think everybody else is focused enough on their job that I don't know that it hinders it a ton. I mean, I think about a guy like Blake Brandel, and a lot of what he's trying to do is just get consistent with his snap, his ability to set protections, his how quickly am I getting into my pass set as soon as I get rid of the ball. And, you've got more pistol probably than we've seen, and maybe a little more shotgun than we've seen, which puts him in a little different spot as a new center, trying to get the ball delivered consistently and accurately. But I don't know that changes it a ton, which quarterback is back there taking the snap. And Justin Jefferson, I think a lot of it is that may have a little more of an effect because you're catching a different type of ball from one quarterback to another. But I think a lot of it is those guys saying, I'm going to focus on what I can control and what my job is on a play and let the rest of it get worked out. I mean, I think for the quarterbacks, it's not ideal because you eventually want to get to the point where your starter is set and he can start to build that relationship with Blake Brandel, especially in terms of setting protections. I think that is a key part of that connection between the quarterback and the center, and this defense makes it difficult to do that in practice. So you're going to get important reps in that regard, and when the joint practices get here in a couple of weeks, I would think they would want to have a lot of this figured out by then, where you know who the quarterback is, if at all possible. I don't think they're going to rush it, but if they can have a decision by that point, and you can say, we've got 2 days to work in what they probably would say is the most important work of the preseason for the ones, we can spend the majority of those reps knowing who our quarterback is going to be. I would imagine that's where they'd love to be if they can get there.
So you don't expect an announcement, a proclamation as to who the top quarterback is before the Giants preseason game?
It's possible that it could be. I think the point, I guess, is I don't expect this thing to go, till September 13th. I think we will have an answer sooner than later because a lot of what they'd like to be able to do is...
And Rappaport got bad steam. And he tried to get splashy. And we talked about it last week. It's ridiculous saying this will go to the 11th hour. The 11th hour is after the Denver preseason game.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't think it'll go that late. I mean, I think there's a lot of reason to say, let's get it figured out sooner. And,
follow your local beats, boys and girls.
Yeah, and if they're not there, I mean, if they're still like, we need to see more, okay. But I think if the way they've structured this, I think, is let's get ourselves an answer sooner than later, knowing that it does take reps from the rest of the first team for that quarterback, and specifically that quarterback center thing I think is really important. Yeah. So I think there's incentive to figure it out sooner than later.
Yeah, and, to that end, when you were talking about maybe, the baseball analogy that you made, somebody's working on something and then trying not to, I've really had to fight hard to not make a proclamation or, Kyler's taking the lead or JJ's taking the lead. The frustrating thing to me as an outsider, however, is that I have not necessarily, over the course of 5 practices now, I've not seen someone truly separate themselves. And so I'm impatient. I'm a rube here, Ben. Yeah. I'm trying to, kind of read through. We talk about crumbs and croutons when the head coach is talking about stuff. But it really, at some point when they make the decision, it's kind of like I'm going to look back and I'm like, where did he find that answer in kind of this balancing act mess that I've seen it again as an outsider?
Yeah, I think the difference, and I get into this too, we look so much at results and outcomes, and I think a lot of their evaluation is on process because they have that ability to say, okay, this was supposed to be the read here, and you went here, talk me through it. If your process made sense, even if the result wasn't there, okay, I can grow off of that rep, and we can coach off of that rep.
And by the way, we've talked about it 3 times, and you still did it this way.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's an important characterization of it for this particular quarterback competition, because you need to see, obviously we're speaking of J.J. McCarthy, you need to see improvement and consistency from some of the things that they've worked on last year and kind of talked with him about working on it. I think that will be the way that we talk about separating yourself. If he's going to do it, it will be because of that, where it's, hey, these things that we've talked about and these things that we've said we want to see get better, get more consistent, there is tangible proof of that happening. So I think a lot of it is, we're going to have limited information because we're not going to get the calls. We're not going to be in the huddle. We're not going to be in the meetings.
Yeah.
So you are inherently looking at what you can see and working off of what you can see, which is part of this. But I think, like I said, this is year 15 for me. It's helped me understand that there is a limitation to my ability to evaluate this on all of the information I'd like to have because I'm just not going to get it. So I probably approach this with a little more caution than might be interesting. Yeah. Just because I think that's the fair way to do it.
Editor-in-chief and publisher, your Vikings beat, your scribe's playing fast. At Ben Gessling via X. Ben Gessling covers the Minnesota Vikings for the Star Tribune. Holy cow, you're playing fast right now. Speaking of playing fast, what do you think Ty Felton's lot in life is? Because maybe he's receiving more opportunity. Yeah. Maybe with intention they're doing something, like you said, with the process, which we don't know. But he is standing out to me dramatically more than last year.
That catch yesterday was, right. I mean, you can find video of it fairly easily. Yeah, yes. He has looked different, and I think they saw some things with him at the end of last season that made them feel like there's a step forward here, and they need it with Jalen Naylor gone.
Well, he's faster than I thought.
Yeah, he is. And he has shown, I think, the ability to make some tough catches. The question with him has always been hands. And there were a couple of drops early, but he's made catches in traffic, and then the catch yesterday is one that, I mean, that's got to be
the one on Zemiah Vaughn.
Yeah, that's one of the better catches I've seen in training camp. I mean, he goes up with one hand, gets his feet in bounds, gets knocked down at the end of the play, and hangs on to it. So, I mean, that's one that if that happens in a game, you'd see highlights of it for the rest of the week.
Yeah, but I ask about his lot in life because, I mean, 3, 18, and 14, they ain't moving.
No, they're not right now.
Yeah.
But 14 is signed for this year. 3 is heading into, this is year 4.
Yeah.
So you have a decision to make on him after this year, probably in terms of long term. 18 obviously is here, and we know that, and that's going to be the case. But what does 18 makes a lot of money? So what does that position look like behind 18 when you have a lot of money wrapped up in 18? So I think figuring things out there and having another guy that can come in and be effective and be still on a rookie deal for a couple more years, they'd have reason to want that. And TJ Hawkinson will be a free agent after this year. So we talk 14-3, you got to add 87 to that in terms of pass catchers that may or may not be here, or at least are coming to an inflection point. So
how do you create expectations for TJ? Final year of his deal, and just, the quarterback competition as it is, but then TJ's still here, and maybe it hasn't worked to the degree that we wanted it to, whether it's health and just maybe lack of productivity in the red zone, young QB going elsewhere, etc. But how do you create how do you create an expectation for him intermingling amongst these guys?
I think a lot of those intermediate crossing routes that we've seen the Dolphins run, and I bring that up because Frank Smith being here, I do think is going to have an impact on what this offense does. Some of those routes that like the Y-cross stuff, I think TJ Hawkinson has a chance to be a big factor on those. I think they want to run that play a fair amount. We've seen a little bit of it in camp. Just having tight ends that can cut across the middle and occupy that underneath layer of the defense where you maybe put guys on the second level in conflict. If you're backing up, you throw underneath them. Some of those different concepts, I think, is where TJ can make an impact. And if you can do that, it opens some things up for other people. It could be a place where he stands out. And then, obviously the red zone, you want a target like him as well in those settings. So I think that's where I see it kind of playing out for him. Now, what that means in terms of a contract long term, I mean, he's heading into his late 20s here. What does that look like for another multi-year deal? We'll see. But, Yeah, I think there are ways for him to stand out because of how this offense would want to use tight ends. And, we saw it with Trey McBride in Arizona with Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
And I think if you can turn T.J. Hockenson into the Minnesota version of Trey McBride, that's a good thing for T.J. Hockenson and probably a good thing for the Vikings.
Yeah, and it's just with T.J., and we were playing a KO cut from his conversation with Barrera yesterday, and he was mentioning, maybe Kyler can take the cape off and just play pitch and catch. It just feels like with T.J., and I'm leaning on T.J. maybe too hard here because I love the guy, and I love what that possibility felt like when he first came here.
Yeah.
That's pitch and freaking catch right there with 87 and those routes that you're talking about, his availability underneath, and we just haven't seen it. I'm excited to maybe have that be part of the feature.
Yeah, I mean,
final year or otherwise.
Yeah, when you think about making life easier for a quarterback, whether it's TJ or Kyler Murray or JJ McCarthy, TJ Hockenson should be a big part of how you do that.
Yeah.
What if so Banks, for what it's worth, very early in the equation. I think he looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Whether it's walkthroughs without pads yesterday, he was crushing. That's about the only way to put it. So from him through Demings and Gerhardt to whatever his lot in life is, we joke around about this a little bit because it's just such an outlier fun thing. What if Briz just crushed the draft?
What if he did? What if he did?
I mean, Claiborne, maybe they held Claiborne out yesterday because he was doing too well.
Yeah, he can fly.
I know.
Aaron Jones needed a chance too, guys.
So why is Claiborne hurt now? They just the defense needed a break. Just trust me when I tell you. So what if the Briz draft is historically good?
I mean, there are a lot of guys in this class that are athletic specimens, and I think that is something was more prominent in this draft than we've seen in a while. And the reason I say that is, especially before the pads go on, and we saw pads for the first time yesterday, that stuff stands out. And you see it with Caleb Banks once the pads go on as well. But there are a lot of guys in this class, whether it's speed, strength, explosiveness, on all of those metrics, they stand out at their position. Jake Golday, Caleb Tiernan even, certainly Damon Claiborne, Charles Demings, Caleb Banks would be probably at the top of that list, and that's a lot of the reason he gets drafted where he does. There are a lot of people with traits in this class. I think more so than they've had in a while.
Yeah.
And, traits, if you can develop them, gets you on the field, and they make a difference.
Remember back to the Combine when Rob Brzezinski, the arguably the greatest capologist in the history of the National Football League, but he was interim GM guy in a weird spot. Remember when he sat down at the JW Marriott, did the background with you guys, then came over and put some stuff on film with Bursich and I. And I watched when he chatted with you guys, so I know he said the same thing. The first reference he made was John Schneider, the general manager for the Seattle Seahawks, with, John and these guys do it this way.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden we're drafting all these creatures. Caleb Banks is out there looking like Akeem Hicks on a good foot, and we're very early in the equation. And then now Nolan Teasley is the GM here.
Right.
So I'm just connecting those things,
that's interesting that the John Schneider thing came up way back then, because it became, not that this was already in place at that point, but it became quite a bit of foreshadowing in terms of how this ended up. Because, yes, you look at a team that has drafted and built its core through the draft. The Seahawks have done that as well as anybody in the NFL because they did it twice. They built two different, almost completely distinct from one another,
two generations
Super Bowl teams, largely out of the draft. I mean, you add Sam Darnold, but that team is Jackson Smith and Jigba, it's Kenneth Walker, it's Nick Emanwari. All of those guys came through the draft. Yes, exactly. All those guys came through the draft, and then the League of Boom was the draft as well. Yeah, totally. Yeah. So I think that was a focus, certainly coming out of the Kwesi era where the drafts weren't very good, and you heard a lot of talk about that. The lifeblood, I think Rob called it this, the draft is the lifeblood of the organization. So there was much more of a focus, I think, on let's get guys in here who can be contributors, probably can do it on the rookie contract, because the last time they crushed a draft was 2015. Year 3 of that class, they're in the NFC title game. I mean, they had a lot of things.
Wayne's, Diggs, and so on.
Yes. Jarek McKinnon even. That was year 4.
Wow.
But Danielle Hunter was the draft pick. Anthony Barr. I mean, that's year 3, year 4. But And we talk about, Case Keenum, did they catch lightning in a bottle? Okay. Stephon Diggs was year 3. So you had a lot of players starting to hit their prime from those 2014, 2015 drafts, especially the 2015 draft, where Eric Kendricks, second-round pick in that draft. It doesn't have to be 5 or 6 years off that a draft class can make that kind of an impact. In fact, it's probably going to be in year 2, year 3, while they're still in those rookie deals. So if you hit that kind of a thing, the returns on it can arrive fairly quickly.
Barr and Kendricks are here today. They have a Bent Out of Shape podcast.
Yeah.
I've watched some of them. It's really, really funny. So you may see them today.
Yeah.
You're playing really fast right now. Do you happen to have a working cell phone number for a man named Steve Grove? Because I want to text him and let him know how fast the Scribe is playing and how fast Emily is playing, because it's very, very enjoyable.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. We'll see you soon.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Ben Gessling at Ben Gessling via X. 9 to noon features Minnesota Vikings general manager Nolan Teasley within the next 20 minutes. News to Nord's around the corner, but first we got some money to give away.
Yeah, the Fan and BigDeck.com want to give you a shot at some bonus bucks, national cash contest style. This hour's keyword is new. Use the keyword new at KFAN.com. You might win. Enter the keyword new at KFAN.com.
From the 1-800-ASK-GARY Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by Dean's Home Services.
35 East southbound.
Time for News Due Nord from Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. Yours truly put Nordo on some rather aggressive tasks this morning, so we have a little surprise for him. This is going to be a segment popping out of a cake out of nowhere, and I'm going to lead News Due Nord, and he's going to react. And Devin Ward's going to give us a nice, smooth bed here.
Listen to that.
Ooh, soft and warm. The Quiet Storm. KFAN.
Can I do one thing, though, for the listeners? One of my favorite things that I do every day.
This isn't my show. It's our show.
I'd like to tell the listeners that News to Nord, while narrated by Paul Allen, is brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park. It's not a casino. It is indeed The Casino, where you're feeling the felt with poker, blackjack, and table games all year round. Live racing season is in play. I think you're going to get to see the Corgis running this weekend.
Sunday.
And I say I think because I haven't done what I'm about to ask you to do. Learn about all of this at CanterburyPark.com.
Number 1, Minnesota Twins got a day off yesterday. 4 in arrears in the American League Central after getting meatloafed, and 2 out of 3 was bad at the Cappuccino Capital. They now head to Kansas City. For those of you who missed 9 to noon yesterday, the Kansas City Royals are hitting so well right now. They went to Coors Field and the altitude and thin air of Denver, Colorado, and averaged 2.75 runs over 3 games. They scored 9 runs or whatever it was, 8 runs over 3 games. They're punchless into the night right now. They're down Bobby Witt Jr.
Yeah.
Now, Randy Dobnak did a number on his former team last week. The proclamation was made 9 to noon yesterday. The Twins are going to knock him around tonight. I still believe that's going to happen. He goes against JoJo. The Minnesota Twins back in action tonight, the Con.
Yeah, and, it'd be curious to know how listeners and Twins fans feel about the moves that the baseball team did at the deadline. In the end, it's 3 pitchers, Dean Kramer, A.J. Minter, and Jeff Hoffman. So a little bit of bolstering of the starting rotation, and then you get a couple relievers that it feels like they immediately kind of jump to the top of the marquee in terms of what we have in the bullpen. And I kind of lean your direction here. I think, as a fan, I love that they added and that they're going for it. So that at a base level. The bad American League this year, and the Twins, record-wise, are middling. We know all of that. But no offense, they have a right to go and beat a bad middling American League and present themselves as postseason participants. So the idea that Joe Ryan can bounce back, frankly, he needs to bounce back.
Yeah.
After the 6 home run bit, and then it was tough last week, and then now here he gets another shot at the Royals, who can't hit to save their lives. And Dobnak, the former Uber driver. Let's beat up on Randy today, with all respect to him, but get these W's and continue to move up the American League wild card / AL Central charts. Digging that.
Now, what? Thank you for speaking a little longer than normal, because you saw that I was looking at something. What I was counting up here.
Well, the lights went out in the studio.
The Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah.
Okay, they had a day off last Monday, but their previous 6 games, they scored 1-3-3-1-1-1. Now, those are your leaders of the American League East, so purportedly they can hit a little bit with Caminero and Aranda and Chandler Simpson and Yandy Diaz and some of those other nice players. But again, so we got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so Pasadena City College math. 6 into 10. I mean, we're scoring two whatever runs per game over that time. They went to Denver, Colorado yesterday and started a series against the Colorado Rockies. They scored 13. So that just shows you when you go to Coors Field and you're punchless into the night for the whole previous week.
Yeah.
You get up to that thin air and it starts flying and you start feeling good about yourselves. They scored 13 runs last night, having scored 10-ish runs over the last week. They scored 13 last night.
Yeah.
Kansas City couldn't do that. That's how punchless this freaking team is that we're getting tonight.
When you're in a slump, it's 1:30 a.m.
Yeah.
Lights are coming on in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Go to Coors Field.
Okay, so closed circuit to the Minnesota Twins, who want to be taken seriously and should be taken seriously. If you didn't get, with respect, embarrassed enough by the middling journeyman Randy Dobnak, who you let walk, and he was bedazzling last week. I mean, he absolutely, he left you flabbergasted. And you were negative after that game. And then you're down 3-0 at the game Nordo went to with Ava and Stella. You're losing 98% of the game. Then you walk off with Cody Clemens. Okay, you got the money. So you meatloafed him. That's what matters. If you let Randy Dobnak do to you tonight what he did to you last week, shame on you.
Yeah.
That's the only way to put it. You got film on it. You know what he wants to do. You know what the tendencies are. And you know that they just went to Coors Field and couldn't even score 3 runs a game. Tampa Bay went there last night in an absolute hitting slump and scored 13. Can we do anything else for you? News du Nord, FM 100.3, KFAN. Bijan Robinson has become the highest paid running back in the history of the National Football League. The Atlanta Falcons got a deal with Bijan, so that does nothing but help West Durham squad, right?
Yeah, first of all, it's awesome. Bijan's amazing. And the hold-in bit, we were talking yesterday about kind of distraction factors and how they're maybe handling things at Foxborough with certain things, or maybe how they're handling things on the West Coast in the Bay Area with the Niners. Distraction factors. Your best offensive player isn't in the mix while you're trying to figure out the Tua situation and how they're going to operate offense with Stefanski. That's massive. And just as a side note, Kevin Stefanski is going to know how to use Bijan in all the right ways.
Oh, yeah.
But I saw this via X, though. He made 51 of that 75. It's guaranteed. I didn't know this. Jeremiah Love got $53 million guaranteed on his rookie deal with the Cards.
Yeah.
That is still the most guaranteed cash for a running back in NFL history. 75 highest total.
Gotcha.
And Bijan has earned every bit of that.
Yeah.
It wasn't about correcting you, though. What I'm interested in seeing, Jahmyr Gibbs has to get paid as well, PA, as part of the running back conversation.
He's still holding out/in.
Would you say Gibbs is the best? Well, and we got Saquon in Philly. That's tough. For your...
Well, you got Damon Claiborne here.
Oh, well...
They held him out of practice yesterday. He looked so good. They just want to give the defense a chance.
So we got Damon Claiborne, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Bijan Robinson. Which is best for your taste palette? Because Jahmyr Gibbs, as unbelievable as he is, I'm a little biased here, and maybe you can talk me out of it, what Flores tried to and succeeded in making Gibbs attempt to do in the pass protection game last year, that was one of the most mind-blowing things that I've seen, where you put one of the absolute stone-cold assassins on offense in the NFL, Jahmyr Gibbs. We sacked Goff 5 times and made Gibbs look so bad and made him such a liability that Campbell had to take him off the freaking field. And I
maybe the Lions aren't paying him because of that.
Maybe that's what
I'm not kidding you. It's like, hey, we gave you all off-season minicamp and then the downtime to figure this thing out, and we don't think you figured it out. How are we supposed to give you this cash if we can't play you every third down?
Well, and then there's Pacheco as well in the mix, and he's no Montgomery. But Gibbs is going to get paid. Bijan is just he's a human highlight reel, how the rest of that thing looks. Best of luck to Kevin Stefanski, but this is the age of every new deal. The next one's going to be the biggest, and so on and so forth. Bijan, the most recent one, of course.
We mentioned it yesterday because it popped during 9 to noon. The Chicago Bears top free agent signing this offseason, former Seattle cornerback Kobe Bryant. He went down with a knee injury. The reports were he was emotional about it, and he left on a cart. Well, he's out at least 8 to 10 weeks. So when the Vikings hook the Bears week 2, there will be no Kobe Bryant.
And how about this real quickly? Is Kobe Bryant on the shelf? Elijah Hicks, another safety, is on the PUP list right now. Just the rookie Thieneman. Cam Lewis, their top 2 safeties, the cat they got from the Bills.
Right. Kyler Gordon, too, a corner they like. He's still down with a calf injury. All right. That's News Du Nord, courtesy of Canterbury Park and CanterburyPark.com. Minnesota Vikings General Manager Nolan Teasley joins us next on KFAN. 9 to noon radio continues from the palatial purple paradise known as Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. Welcome back. And as we've mentioned multiple times this radio presentation, Minnesota Vikings General Manager Nolan Teasley is kind enough to join us. Second day of pads today, off yesterday, and he joins us now from the Vikings Entertainment Network. Mr. General Manager, how have you been? And what are you liking about training camp here at this beautiful facility?
I think you just touched on it. Thanks for having me, by the way. But I mean, one of the better training camp environments that I've been able to experience. You know, the fans in the stands, the tent setup, everything. The weather's cooperating. It's been beautiful out. So I'm liking everything about it. Not to mention that we're playing football. So I guess that's number one.
Is and if I'm out of my lane here, I apologize. But is your family are they here yet and settled in? 4 boys and your wife's name
Morgan.
Morgan, right? Are they settled in yet? You all squared away that way?
No, we're not. Is the short answer. My wife is on a plane headed this direction now. She'll be here for a couple of days, and then the boys will be coming with her. She'll go back home, and then they're all going to be here early next week, safe and sound and settled. Yeah.
The boys probably will be excited about the joint practices, right?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very excited about anything football, especially. I think I touched on my 8-year-old Jax.
Right. I don't remember what you said. Is high-end athlete already focusing on NIL, thinking about transfer portals from 10 years from now?
That is the focus. We're going to let him be a kid for as long as we can. But yes, he loves football.
I mean, you know this. I'm sure you know this better than me, ma'am, because you deal with college football and then like before college and stuff. But you know, I have a 25-year-old boy, 23-year-old girl. She just graduated from University of Colorado, so she was there with Dion coaching and Shador and Travis Hunter and all that. So going to the games was unbelievable. But it's when you get to know these people a little bit and then know their little brothers and hear I mean, they start talking about NIL. I mean, like in middle school, if somebody's good at basketball, football, or whatever, it's enveloped kind of everybody's mindset, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there's certainly a focus on it. I mean, we're conscious of it, of everything that it impacts as players are coming to our level. But it's at the forefront of everybody's mind, and certainly openly discussed at this point. So.
What is it like watching film with Kevin O'Connell?
Educational.
In what way?
He's a great football mind, so he's talking to me about technique and everything that from different positions. But I'm just learning. which is great. I love learning football, and why not learn from one of the best?
So old dogs learning new tricks. I mean, because we're talking to somebody who's been part of Super Bowl teams and has done this with Pete Carroll and Mike McDonald and Leslie Frazier and, people like that, but you still learn new things the more information you get, right?
For sure. And think about, you just named 3 defensive coaches too.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's great.
So it's cool.
Yeah. Okay, well, defensively speaking, now we mentioned those names. Brain Flores is a defensive coach, but clearly things he does are different. So when you watch film with Brian, what's that like?
No, and you touched on it, and again, that's not necessarily my wheelhouse. I'm an evaluator at heart and not a coach, but watching his system and scheme in person is something, and the way that he can impact the game, and it seems like nobody is where they're supposed to be. So, no, it just speaks to the caliber of defensive mind that we have in this building, and just working with Flo has been excellent. We were just talking about the Jamel Adams acquisition being an example of just being able to collaborate and communicate with him, and him understanding his. Being able to articulate his vision for the player, and we kind of aligned there, and so then we have the opportunity to bring a good football player in and see where that goes.
And after one of Jamal's first practices last week, he's walking to the locker room and chats with the media a little bit, and he said, I'm here because Nolan wanted me to be here, and I trust him, and I like the situation and stuff. Then he went in depth about an injury that he had and just the recovery process from the unique nature of it. Well, I guess I wasn't wrapped up in Las Vegas Raiders football last year. I had no idea that he moved to linebacker. And he's always been a bigger, thicker kind of guy, high draft pick, fast, despite that size as a safety. But what are some intangibles with Jamal that caused you to bring him here?
Well, he's always had kind of that hybrid skill set, and so that was the first thought, and how it would fit into Flo's system. And then just knowing the person, again, the energy, the passion that he plays with, and then having Flo able to articulate his vision for the player, and it kind of it molded into both of us aligning in that vision. And so let's bring a good football player in and see where it can go. In
Nolan, in all your years of evaluation, okay, now a general manager for the Minnesota Vikings, the hybrid word and the hybrid approach, like I remember when Shaq Thompson came out of, I think, Washington, maybe to Carolina or something. Marcus Golden with the Arizona Cardinals. These guys who have certain skill sets and size, but they were always described as hybrids. Josh Metellus here. Is that relatively new within the last decade or so? It's not like, hey, you're built like a corner, you're built like a safety, you're going to play free safety or strong safety. Because with Flores, it's with Metellus, we've seen slot corner, cover the guy in the slot, play safety, play a little linebacker, maybe feign defensive end, drop back into something, hybrid type modes. Is that all over the place now? I
think you're kind of touching on, but versatility, brings value. And it's really incumbent upon the coach to bring that to life, and luckily we have a good one under the roof here that's going to, it has the ability to do that with a lot of players, not just Jamal,
and that's Adams,
Josh.
Yeah. So Adams, I think, played 200 some odd snaps. I think inside linebacker last year for the Raiders, or linebacker. That what goes into that position change? I mean, if you're you got to put on more weight, you have to get stronger in different areas, things like that.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a change. There's elements of, if you're playing big nickel, strong safety, will linebacker, a lot of those things mirror each other in terms of the things that you're tasked with, where you can pressure from, the drops that you're asked to execute, who you're matched with in coverage. I would think the biggest part, and Jamal would probably tell you this, is just the block destruction. You're just dealing with bigger bodies and trying to shed blocks of offensive linemen rather than tight ends, wide receivers, and running backs.
Nolan Teasley, general manager for the Minnesota Vikings, 9 to noon. This is cool. Also available either now or later via Vikings.com. The pads went on yesterday. Your defensive line was having some good moments, a fair amount of practice. Is that how it generally is supposed to work early in the pads equation? The guys going forward are supposed to have the advantage?
Yeah, they're attacking, right? So it's not uncommon for the defense to maybe be a little bit ahead in the first day of pads, but what you're looking for is you're looking for growth, and I'm really confident that as camp just kind of progresses, that you're going to see the offense have some days, you're going to see the defense have some days, and back and forth. So.
This perhaps is more of a question for Kevin O'Connell, but I mean, I look at GM and head coach for the best of the best to be in lockstep, so I'm going to hit you with it. What goes into the crescendo up to a regular season? So in other words, whether it's what you've seen in Seattle or what you're seeing here, what I mean is the pace of some practices differs from others. What are the keys to having a fresh and fit team into the regular season opener?
I think that's key. The balance that you're always looking for is you want to be prepared, but you want to be healthy. And I think KO has a really good plan, and I've been really impressed early on, and that's guided by Tyler Williams and his staff, and they do an excellent job. And so we're really confident in the plan that's been put into place, and that's going to be executed as we kind of work our way toward Green Bay.
Some of the names from whence you came from Seattle that we've mentioned. I'd just like to get your heartfelt answer on some things that you learned and never will forget and are going to be tried and true and age-old for you from the likes of John Schneider, Leslie Frazier, Pete Carroll. Like what are some of those things that you'll never forget?
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to treating people the right way, and that's, I think, what breeds culture in a building, and having a level of empathy, understanding that it's a tough business that we're in, and allowing people to just flourish in an environment where, it's football and we're working hard and it's long hours, but you need to find balance and give people opportunity to find time with their family, and just valuing their contributions into the organization as a whole. And then the football piece, I get asked that question, and this is even, you mentioned Leslie, but also Mike McDonald, and Pete would always kind of touch on it, and this kind of meshes with our conversation about versatility earlier too, but is that every player might have some perceived limitations, but you don't worry about what they can't do. You just really concentrate on what they can, and then it's our job to develop them and help them be at their best, and then put them in position to do those things as often as possible. And then I see that in this building too, and so I think that's what really brings a level of comfort in where we're headed, and looking forward to, continuing on.
Well, what an awesome answer, because is it fair to say the same could be said about Kyler Murray? And this is with respect to the Arizona football program. I mean, flippantly, somebody can say, okay, we ain't them. And then you just move on to whatever you want to do with him or whatever quarterback you're going to use. But like how much does Kyler's run up what you just said in not hyper focusing on things that weren't done with that group compared to what you can do here potentially with him? How much of his run in Arizona matters to you? Because this building has been organized and cohesive since O'Connell and the group arrived in 2022.
Well, I think Kyler accomplished some really good things and did some really good things in his time with Arizona. I can't speak to anything beyond that. I wasn't in that building,
right?
But I know here I'm confident, and we're really confident in our ability to again, put players in position to do what they do best as often as possible, and then to also develop them off the field so that they can be the best version of themselves.
I love that. Jadeveon Clowney signed with the Houston Texans yesterday. Is this the time street players, specifically the ones who have some statistical equity and or bigger names for the public, like Clowney, is this the time they generally start landing places?
Yeah, I mean, I think that window can be, it can be a big window. I mean, Jadeveon, I don't think signed until September last year, so this is just that specifically. It seemed like it aligned for him. I think he might live in the Houston area.
Came into the league with him.
Came into the league with him, so there's a connection there. And obviously it worked out for the player, it worked out for that organization. But in terms of the timing, it's a case-by-case basis.
Got it. Nolan Teasley, GM for the Minnesota Vikings. It's 11:02. Good morning. A few to close here. Would you say, Nolan, that speed with your skill players on offense is a team strength? I mean, it looks like you got a lot of speed out there, right?
Yeah, you see some speed. You saw J.A. on a jet sweep the other day get around the corner. Ty Felton made a nice play in the corner of the end zone that wasn't necessarily a speed play, but yeah, we have speed at our disposal, but we have a lot of nuanced skill sets and balance across the offensive group. So that running back room, it's a mix of speed and power and that fit the system and the scheme well, and kind of looking forward to being able to have that varied attack, not necessarily just focused on speed.
What have you liked about Caleb Banks so far?
The thing I like about Caleb Banks so far is, he's a talented young man, but it's just the way that he's attacked this season. Since we got to training camp, he's gotten incrementally better on a day-by-day basis. First day in pads yesterday, and just the way that he attacked the summer to get to this point. So you really appreciate the work ethic that he has.
Well, last time we chatted, I didn't really deep dive or ask you about your staff, and I want to do that because they're significant, and we have some new names here. So, your assistant general managers. First, what do you like about Andrew Healy?
Andrew brings it's experience, but then he also has the data perspective right at its core. But he has a really unique ability to marry that with football context, right? And so. Obviously a really intelligent guy. When we sit in a room, he's definitely the smartest guy in the room, but he doesn't let me know it. So I enjoy working with him. Again, he provides a lot of value across the board, but both from an experience standpoint and then, really focused on that data perspective.
And Trent Kirchner, what about him?
Well, I've worked with Trent for so long, so there's really nothing that I like about him.
That's awesome.
I love Trent. He has the ability to bring people together. He's a visionary in terms of, when we come into this building from the experience that we have, and, we speak the same language, but he's helped us mesh, what was here, what was in place with the Minnesota Vikings, and then what we were bringing over. And it's a hybrid of sorts, and he has that vision, and he puts it to work, and I've always appreciated that about him. It's a really strong skill set. That's
sweet. Ryan Pace is a former general manager and an advisor for Nolan and the Minnesota Vikings. In what way is he charged with helping? Like the extra set of eyes, I get it. Experience, seen a lot of things, I get it. Ryan Pace, a very familiar name. How do you utilize him?
Experienced evaluator. He has a pro background, but obviously he's been in the general manager's seat before, so brings a wealth of experience. There's a levity that he can bring to some of the things that you go through, and being able to have those conversations with him, really appreciative of the way that he just approaches every day. And then again, at the foundation of it is just that he's a good person, and he's a good evaluator, and he's going to help our football operation move forward.
The first preseason game is a week from Saturday at MetLife Stadium against the Giants. What do you look for in those games, and specifically with the importance of joint practices this day and age? Some teams have two during the course of training camp. What in the preseason games, what are you looking for as the GM?
Yeah, you don't want to get overly complicated. You just want to look for production and look for people that are making plays. And the underlying factors of that is that what it tells you is that, they're putting in the work off the field to be assignment sound. Okay, they're putting in the work on the practice field to improve in terms of technique. They're executing, and again, they're just working hard on all facets to be able to put themselves in position to make those plays and to be productive on the field.
So Lamar and the Ravens are here in a couple of weeks. That's going to be fantastic for a couple of days. And Nolan, do you find the joints to be every bit, if not more important than preseason games these days?
Yeah, competitive environment, getting to see your team in a competitive environment, there's a lot of value to that. The thing I like about joint practices is that you can be really focused in terms of your situational football. So if we want to get an extended look at red zone or third down or get back on track, even special teams, you can be really focused and and just that, I guess, just focused on that portion of the game that you want to evaluate your players in those situations that you want to put them in.
So like coaches, GMs and GMs or whatever, getting together, being like, hey, we want to work on this extensively, and then so they know it's kind of coming, maybe not know exactly the play, but they help you get iron sharpening iron, and then you help them get better with things. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the details of the practice I would probably leave to KO and Coach Minter there in Baltimore, but you can be really specific in those situations and be able to evaluate your players in those situations, and it brings a lot of value.
Lastly, and thank you very much for the time. Do you, I'm not going to have you speak for other general managers, but do you interact with players much? Can that be an underrated key to learning where players' heads and hearts are, or do you leave that to the coaches?
I do. I do interact with players, and it's not necessarily as an evaluation tool. Really, again, our focus is, this entire building, and the reason that we're here is for players, and if you don't believe that, then you're in the wrong business. So I try to, get to know the person for specific reasons, and just because of that, I want to know who they are, what makes them tick, and I want them to know that if my door is open, I'm available, come in, let's get to know each other, and again, that I'm here to support them and help them be the best version of themselves on and off the field.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for the elongated chat. Nolan Teasley,
Thank you.
General Manager for the Minnesota Vikings. 9 to noon continues after this.
From the 1-8